Hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Nathaniel, and in this video I'm going to talk with you about local users and groups. So after we installed Windows and the device drivers, the next part is to create local users and to assign them to groups. So if we log on to the server, we are logging in with a local user. In small, medium and large organization, there is a security boundary named domain that I'll teach about that later on, but for now on let's focus on the local users and groups. So with right click on the start and choosing here computer management, or going to run and typing the following command of compmgmt.msc, we'll get the computer management of the local computer. And under local users and groups, we can see two main folders, one designed for the users and the second one for the groups. I want to start with the groups first because it's very important to get the understanding of the groups and their power. Every group has privileges, roles, and access to certain things, or certain groups deny or prevent to do certain things. So if we think about that in a simple way, let's think about roles. Okay, so let's say that the chief of staff of the army has more roles and more privileges and more ability to do things more than, let's say, simple soldier or simple officer in the army. This concept named RBAC or RBAC, and it stands for role-based access control. So if we add a user for administrators group, the user gets complete administration privileges on the local computer. Or if we want to add user to event log readers group, we'll give him only specific privileges to access and to read event viewer logs. And if we want to log on remotely to the computer, we'll add the user to the remote desktop users group. So every group has its power and privileges and benefits, and sometimes there is disadvantage to add certain user to certain group, such as the guests and users for simple user. But it's best practice to work that way because, let's say, salesperson doesn't need to be administrator on the computer. You just need to open Word, Excel, and these finance applications, or the Salesforce or other sales application, and you don't need to gain full access on the computer. So I hope this makes sense for you. After I explained the impact of groups and roles, let's talk about the main groups in the local server or the local computer that you installed. So administrators is the most powerful group on every local computer, and there is no limitation for the administrator. He can do almost anything on the computer. If we would like to get more information, we can see a description about the group. Backup operators, it's a group that designs for backup operators. So basically we can add PC technician that responsible to take backup jobs of the computer or the server to this group, and so on. Event log readers, it's special group that applications like monitoring or security event incident management can add to this group, and by doing so we are allowing these users to interact with the event log that we'll talk about the event viewer later on, and to gain logs from the computer and to parse and analyze them, let's say on another applications or services. Hyper-V administrators, this group allow us to manage virtual machine under this computer using Hyper-V. Hyper-V is Microsoft technology for virtualization, just like Oracle VM VirtualBox, but it more sophisticated and got clustering and availability abilities and so on. I'll have another video about Hyper-V, so I don't want to take a lot of time explaining what Hyper-V is. IIS underscore IUSRS, this is a built-in group for web server that the role named IIS, Internet Information Services. Power users, it's kind of combination between privileged access and standard users abilities. And for local computers, let's say laptop, which is not joined to a domain that I mentioned earlier, the security boundary of the organization, this is good practice to add, let's say, powerful users to this group that can do some things that the simple users cannot do. And because right now we are in a COVID-19 situation, and if we want to manage this computer remotely and to access it remotely, I can add the user to the remote desktop users group, and by do so and enabling the remote desktop, that I will show you how to do that under start run and typing sysdm cpl and going to remote and allowing the remote desktop. It's allow me to remotely connect to this computer and work remotely on that. I can click on select users, and if I'll add a user to this wizard, it automatically add it here. So this is the most common groups that users work with them on a local computer, and if we are going to the users folder, we can create a new user by right clicking, choosing new user, and of course new group in the same way. So I'll create a new user, and because I got a dachshund, let's call it turtle, and let's call it turtle, and I'll put password for that user. I can require the user to change the password next logon, or to prevent him to change it, and to make sure that the password is never expired, even to disable it by creation. So I'll ask him to change it, and if I'm going to the user and doing a right click, I can go to the member of tab and see that by default is member of the users group, which is not so powerful group, but it's enough for our demonstration. So what I'm going to do is to log off, to do a sign out, and sign in with the turtle. So After the first logon attempt, I need to change the password, and let's create a new password. And after changing and logging in with the new password to the computer as Turtle, I can see that I'm working with Turtle. Who am I? It's a useful command that I love to work with. Show me that I'm working with Turtle, and if I type /user with the same command of who am I got the SID, the security identifier of the user, that we'll talk about it in a later video. And whoami/groups will show me the groups that this user is member of. So I can see it's a member of the built-in. Built-in is the local computer users, which is true. So these commands are very basic, and they show me the local user information, or the domain user information. In that case, this is a local user. And one more thing that I want to show you, that I cannot do certain things with the users group. So let's say I want to go to the C drive and create a folder. You can see that by default Windows pops up a new window named user account control, and he asks me for permission of a strong user which is member of the administrators group, like Dachshund, because this task cannot be performed with the local standard user. So I'll click on no, and this is the main idea of local users and groups. It's important to know in the theory, and it's very crucial for let's say Microsoft exams and general knowledge, that the local users and groups are located inside the Windows registry, and it calls SAM, Security Account Manager. We'll talk about CMD and registry in later videos, but it's important to mention that right now. So if you're planning to take Microsoft certified exam, let's say like Windows or Windows Server, it's crucial to understand that the local users and groups are stored in the SAM, the SAM database, which is locally on the computer or the server in the registry. And a domain, there is a different way, and there is a central database named ntds.dit, and we'll talk about that later on. So this is the video about local users and groups. I try to do it very easy to understand, and thank you for watching.